All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on another live update. We have with us Mr. Harry Farrell, and he is going to be giving us an update on what's happening in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Now, Mr. Farrell is the Vice President of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Red Cross, and he will be sharing with us. He was with us on Friday, and he was able to give us a preview into what has happened with the eruption of the volcano, the La Soufrière volcano, and he's going to share with us what has taken place since then. We know that there have been several eruptions, Mr. Farrell, so we're eager to hear what's happened, what has been happening since Friday. And later, we're also going to have Danielle join us. Danielle is from the Barbados Red Cross, so she'll be able to share with us a little bit more about how this volcano eruption is also impacting them. So, Mr. Farrell, over to you. Can you tell us what's been happening since Friday when we last spoke?
Well, it seems as though since we last spoke, the earth has been shaking consistently. Thankfully, I am way to the south of the island. The volcano is located in the north. Therefore, quite often I do not get an opportunity to feel the shaking of the earth. But we've had to date the most violent eruption occurring in the early hours of the morning earlier. And but surprisingly, we didn't get a lot of ash fall in the south of the island as we had on Saturday morning following the violent eruption on Friday. So, a number of persons are wondering, why is it we've had such a powerful explosion, but not a lot of ash fall? So that is what it is for us in the south. Today, only essential services were open, so most of the government ministries and departments were closed. Also, a lot of the shopping area were pretty much closed as well.
Okay.
And of course, in the red zone, there is absolutely nothing going on there except the volcano.
Okay. Okay. All right. So thank you for sharing that with us. We see Daniel Topping from Barbados Red Cross joining. Daniel, we'll come to you in a bit. But Mr. Farrell is just sharing with us some of what has been happening there in St. Vincent with the eruption of the volcano. Now, Mr. Farrell, we understand that it rained over the weekend and this even complicated matters further. Can you tell us a bit more about this and the impact it has had on the ashfall?
You see, the raining, the rain, the rain had two effects. In that one, it was a good thing, and then on the other hand, it was a bad thing. The good effect is that it helped to clear the air, so persons like me, who's asthmatic, was able to breathe a little better today and yesterday as well because of the rain. But what the rain has also done is that when the ash falls on roofs and the rain came down, forcing a little trickle, thus solidifying the ash. And as a result of that, it makes it heavy. And we had the caving in of a number of roofs here. And also for persons in the south, it also had instances where it caused leakage in the house and blocking of the guttering, because as the ash solidify, then the water just float on top and spill over into people's house instead of running down the pipes. So that is what really make it a good and yet a bad thing at the same time.
Okay. Okay, and I'll come back to you, Mr. Farrell, again for you to tell us a little bit more about the work that the Red Cross has been doing. But let me just head on over to Danielle, who can share with us how the eruption has impacted you in Barbados. Like, The airport is closed as well, in addition to the airport in St. Vincent. Can you tell us more about how exactly the impact, what exactly it has been like?
Um, Ash, it's everywhere. So we would have started on Saturday, Friday. There, I think we were expecting to have some arrival of ash as of Friday, but really most of us would have noticed it on Saturday. And what we've seen happening is that within 3 hours of every major eruption or every major set of volcanic activity, that by then it's arriving in Barbados. So cars, many of the same problems that Mr. Farrell would have, not, of course, not at the same scale, but many of the
Mhm.
same issues. We've had one reported death as a result of an asthma attack. We've had one death
Oh,
with an elderly gentleman who was on the roof trying to clear the guttering. Guttering is overwhelmed, and what we've had a lot of rain, thankfully, but similar issues where the rain, once the rain impacts the ash, it solidifies or it turns into almost like a gel. So I was just outside trying to cover my car with tarpaulin because it's really
right.
everywhere. So even inside the houses, many people are complaining about respiratory, if not illnesses, but challenges. Even people who don't have asthma are having challenges with breathing. It's pretty consistent. And now today we have a lot of wind blowing, so the wind is blowing it everywhere.
Right. And we have some photos and videos from both St. Vincent and the Grenadines as well as Barbados. So we're just going to bring those up now so our viewers can actually see what it's like.
Wow.
So these are pictures of St. Vincent, and these are credited to the US Seismic Research Center, which has been doing a lot of updates on social media. And of course, you can see clearly how the ash is very heavy on the ground. And I saw some other pictures earlier.
Just to give you an idea of how much dust has fallen on the ground. That's the dust caked up, and it's just going from bad to worse. This is
Right. So those were pictures first of, you would have seen the pictures from St. Vincent. And then we also saw some videos from Barbados, which Danielle shared with us earlier. One of them is actually right outside her home. So there has been, as we can see, wide scale impacts from the ashfall. And of course, persons have been evacuated from what we understand in St. Vincent to shelters. Mr. Farrell, can you tell us a bit more about the work that the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Red Cross has been doing since we last spoke on Friday?
Well, as it relates to shelters, when persons moved into shelters on on Thursday, because as soon as the command was given for us to evacuate the red zone, what you had is that the Red Cross volunteers who are from the area of the red zone, they were pretty much involved in assisting persons in moving towards the muster point. On the north leeward side, which is the southwestern towns in the north, northern the northern towns on the south of the island. Sorry, I'm saying south. At the north leeward side of the island,
Mhm.
you had those persons being evacuated via land transport. That is because that area of the country is extremely, the terrain is extremely mountainous, and the roads are also very, very treacherous. So it would have been difficult to have persons evacuated by road. So most of the evacuation was done by sea.
Okay.
Since then, we've also had, in the early period of the evacuation, we've had the Red Cross assisting by providing blankets, water. We had some limited mattress. Those were given out very early. But since then, the government system has now kicked in, and therefore they are far better able now to supply the regular shelters. So what the Red Cross has done over the last day or so has been concentrating on identifying what we refer to as informal shelters that do not come under the registration of NEMO, but these are where, like some churches, particularly the smaller churches, some of them might have opened their doors for persons to be there, so they might accommodate like 2 or 3 different families, you know. So we may have persons ranging between 15 to about 25 in number. There is one particular gentleman that has an apartment complex, and he has opened his entire apartment complex for persons. And this apartment complex holds about 102 persons, but these are not in the regular NEMO system. So we are now concentrating on identifying these, and will be targeting these over the coming days to provide relief to.
Okay. All right. So you're helping to identify the persons who are not in the government shelters, so to speak, that they too
Yes.
can receive the necessary assistance that they require. And in terms of the needs, we heard in the early days, like just right after the eruption, that you were in need of mainly hygiene items, of course, water, etc. Are there any other needs coming out
Well,
over the
the
past
great
few days
well,
that people can help with?
water still remains the greatest need, because as a result of the ash fall, heavy ash fall, our water system has really shut down. Up to this morning, the CEO of the water authority here, he indicated that they're up, actually the reservoirs only have about 20% of the capacity. In what the water authority had been doing is just restoring water in selected areas for a limited time and then shut it down. So
Right.
water means the largest need for right now. In shelters, we also have a lot of infants. You know, things for infants like Pampers and feed for infants, and so that will be a great need as well.
Okay.
Still, again, hygiene kits, those still pretty much still in high demand. And the other thing that a lot of us, we didn't pay much attention to it, but clothing is one of the things that can become a critical need as well, because one, when the persons left the red zone, they did not walk with a lot of clothing. And because that has been compounded now by the fact that we are not able to wash, because one, there isn't sufficient water for us to do that basic activity. And also, if you hang clothing, then there is the ash. So that makes it difficult. So clothing, I
Right.
can see becoming a great challenge over the next couple of days.
But it would be difficult to get these in-kind donations to St. Vincent right now because the airport is closed, and I can imagine that whatever or whoever is coming onto the island, it's very limited in terms of accessibility. So would you what do you recommend in terms of persons who are listening, whether from in St. Vincent who are not as affected or persons in other countries who want to help, how would you recommend that they reach out and assist in any way that they can?
Well, there are a number of agencies that organize uh, sea transport. So what we can ask is that for those, for it, where you have reputable agencies that engage in sea transport, then you can contact those. But you can contact the National Society by reaching us via email, because persons there, we have been getting calls from a number of persons who wish to make donations. So we have to, quote unquote, also carry out some of our own due diligence. So what we ask persons to do is just drop us an email at svg Red Cross at vincisurf.com, and we can let you know exactly how you can make any donations. Just this evening, we have now opened, we are in the final stages of opening an account that should be up and ready by tomorrow, that persons who wish to donate, who wish to make cash donations, can funnel any cash donations in that. Unfortunately, we were not able to get that up and running at the end of this commercial day, but hopefully by very early in the morning, we will be in touch with the bank and see if that is up and running. And I can always post that so you can alert your viewers, your listeners, that this is also a way in which you can donate and support the Red Cross relief effort here.
So could you repeat the email address for those who are listening and perhaps missed it?
SVG Red Cross at vincisurf.com.
So that's SVG, as in for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, SVG Red Cross at Vincy, VINCY, surf, SURF.com. All right, thank you so much, Mr. Farrell. And we are heading back over to Daniel Topping. Ms. Topping, can you tell us how exactly the Barbados Red Cross, we know that all the different Red Cross societies in the Caribbean have reached out to St. Vincent and have extended their, show of support. How exactly is the Barbados Red Cross, even though Barbados is also impacted, can you share with us what the Barbados Red Cross is doing to support St. Vincent, but also to deal with the issues that you're facing in your own country?
Okay, so in two ways, we've requested the president of Barbados Red Cross has been in contact with the president of St. Vincent Red Cross to get an idea. The Coca-Cola Foundation, who's done work with us before in the past, reached out to us and expressed their interest in providing support to the St. Vincent Red Cross, and they because we are already in their system, that being the Barbados Red Cross, their preference is to send the funds directly to the Barbados Red Cross, and we would then transfer the funds to St. Vincent Red Cross. The contact person from the Coca-Cola Foundation has been in contact with someone from the St. Vincent Red Cross to get an idea of what the initial items would be. Water, of course, was mentioned as one of the items that would be needed. But the presidents have also been in contact, and we're waiting on confirmation on what the items will be, because we will be submitting a proposal for the funds to be channeled to the St. Vincent Red Cross once they are received. In addition to that, blankets, we are in the process of, we're working with the Department of Emergency Management to get blankets provided. So they've been laundered and we're packaging them to have them sent through the DEM. One of the things that we've been told is that getting items over, we have to be mindful about what items we send, because we don't want to overburden the port at this time. So smaller items, and the main ways to get them in right now would really be through the Coast Guard.
Right.
So we have been in touch with the Department of Emergency Management to get an idea of how best to get the items over. So that's that in terms of supporting right now, St. Vincent Red Cross. Those are two main areas.
Okay, awesome. And for persons who are listening, just about any of the Red Cross societies in your country, you could reach out to them. So, regardless of which country you're in, you can reach out to the Red Cross Society there because most of them have actually started appeals or accepting donations to go towards helping out St. Vincent and the Grenadines after the this eruption. I'm based in Jamaica, and I know the Jamaica Red Cross, in collaboration with United Way of Jamaica, has launched an appeal and are inviting donations as well. And those funds will be sent to St. Vincent and the Grenadines to help with the response there. So, of course, for persons who are listening and wish to help, just reach out to the Red Cross in your country. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to wrap up now, but are there any last words that either of you want to share with our viewers before we jump off?
I would give way to the Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Barbados.
I would say that to me, these are challenging times, but the lesson that I keep saying when the people ask how we are, I'm humbled. I think that this is another reminder of how, as much as we have power and control, nature is a very strong force. We have to respect it. Preparation is key. But really, I would encourage everyone to continue to do their part to help out. You know, one of the things that we've noticed we're going to need to be involved in, and this is one of the areas that we are working towards, is helping with the cleanup. So if even you're not actively involved in a Red Cross, get involved, because there's going to be, for the islands that are affected, even we're not as heavily affected, of course, as St. Vincent, but the need for cleanup and helping elderly and vulnerable communities is going to be significant. So get involved however you can, and always remember that nature is a very powerful force, so preparation is key, and response requires multiple hands.
Yeah, perfectly said,
And
Danielle. Mr. Farrell?
I would just like to express our profound thanks for all our colleagues within the region who have selflessly reached out to us at this time. And it shows the love and the solidarity that we have within the Caribbean, despite our differences from time to time. We much appreciate all your efforts. And we do wish that, yes, with your support, we will get over this, and get over this with, as hopefully, with no lives lost, or with as few as possible. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much both for joining us. And before we wrap up, we're just going to share just a couple more tips with you in terms of those who have been impacted by the ashfall from the volcano. Remember to avoid going outside. If you can, at all costs, avoid going outside. But if you must go outside to protect your nose, your eyes, your mouth, Mr. Farrell, he mentioned that he has asthma. So many people have respiratory issues that they're dealing with, and the ash will only make it worse. So as much as possible, protect yourself, close your doors and your windows, seal any openings to your buildings, etc. And of course, just try to stay inside as much as you can. If you have containers with water outside, try to cover them so that the deposits, of course, don't get into them. You heard Danielle mentioned earlier about covering her car, because of course when it's time, if you must go outside, that's something that you don't want to have to be dealing with in terms of getting the ash off the car. So anything at all that you can go out, that if that you can protect, ensure that it's being protected. And as I said, if you go outside, cover your mouth, cover your eyes and your nose, wear long sleeve clothing, etc., and just ensure that you keep safe. So to the two of you, thank you so much for all that you have been doing and continue to do. And we pray that you will keep safe, be careful, and you have our support. All right, all the best.
Teresa, can I add two
Sure.
last tips? Two last
Sure.
tips.
Go ahead.
One, your pet. Keep them, if you can, keep your
Yes.
pets indoors.
Yes.
It's harder with cats. Cats like to roam, but as much as possible, try and keep them indoors. And then the other thing is, this is more in terms of once, if you are affected by the ash and rain does fall, it becomes extremely slippery. So as much, I think a secondary danger is falling. I've had a couple of people who have had some pretty bad falls as a result of the slippery nature of the ash. So just to be mindful of those two as well.
Yes. And Mr. I know we said we're wrapping up, but this is also another critical point. So thank you, Daniel, for mentioning that. Mr. Farrell, you had also mentioned something about when driving, not using the wiper to wipe away the
Yes,
ash. Could you share
yes,
that tip with
because
the viewers?
particularly when it's dry and you use your wiper, it tends to scratch. It can over time it can scratch your windshield, so you really don't want to be using that. If it's dry, you use a soft broom, brush it off, and before you leave, you wash.
Yeah.
Right. And
I learned
very
that
valid
one the
point.
hard way.
You learned that the hard way. Oh no. And very valid point that you made as well, Daniel, about the pavement, the road becoming slippery, especially when the ash becomes wet, because of course that is another hazard there. So these are just some tips. Of course, we have shared these tips on our social media pages. So you can look at the CADRIM, the Red Cross Caribbean Disaster Risk Management Facebook page, as well as Twitter and the IFRC America's Twitter page and Instagram. We have shared these tips as well. And of course, our different national societies in affected countries will be sharing these tips so persons can be aware and protect themselves and keep safe. All right. So thank you again to you both for joining us. Thank you to our viewers for joining in. And you can reach out to us on social media. As I mentioned, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, as well as YouTube. So you can reach out to us if you have any questions or want to find out anything at all about how you can support. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a pleasant afternoon.